I shouldn't be doing this since I'll go on the cinema to watch a film, uh, like in about an hour. But by that time it'll be too late to make a video, so I'm just gonna do this and I'll do that review later. It's school on Wednesday, the 31st of May, 2023. I had English Part 1 today, which was King Lear. So I I went to room 35, which is where the first exam was. No one was there. I just sat there reading for, we'll say, half an hour, although it felt like a lot less than that. Speaking of reading, I just want to mention this. I finished all the, I don't want to say this word because if you know, then you know. So I'll try and find something else. I'll just call it a prologue. I finished the prologue to an event. So it was like you had big series, then like what 5, 8 issue series. Well, most of them were 8 issues. Some of them were like 4, 6, or 7. Excuse me. And then you had to read another thing, then a couple issues of like The Flash and Justice League and all of that, and then a big Batman thing on. I should. Give me a sec. I'm going to finish this Batman thing. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to do that. I think this is time for another change to the comic rules for reviews, at least. So I was thinking back to when I did the review for Under the Red Hood, because Under the Red Hood, which I didn't know at the time that I read it, was part of Infinite Crisis. I considered reading this thing. I'm not going to say what Batman story it is, but I considered reading it because I was told that it was one of the best Batman stories, but then I decided nah. And now I've read it because it's part of another series, another big crossover. So it was read all these issues, and then you read. I think after this is the first issue of the actual event itself. Let me just check. Hold on, give me a second. Google Docs is loading. And sorry for taking longer than I thought it would with this. I wouldn't call it a rant. Yeah, so the next issue is the actual first issue of the event itself. I'm hoping this one's going to be quite short because there's only 37 issues. 7 of which are the actual event itself. Then you have event Requiem number 1. I mean, you probably already tell what it is now, but I'm not going to continue. But this is got issues of Batman, issues of Superman, Batman. Most of them are one shots and just wee miniseries that have the title of the event itself in the title of them. So we have title and then the name of the actual miniseries. We'll just say the OMAC project for now. It's not actually the OMAC project because that was Infinite Crisis anyway. So I was going to do a review for this thing, but then that's just part of mainline Batman issues. So I shouldn't have done a review for Under the Red Hood. The difference between doing a review for that and doing a review for, say, White Knight or Dark Knight Returns or something like that is that White Knight and Dark Knight Returns, they're all separate miniseries. They are all miniseries. So, White Knight, you read White Knight, then what's the next one called? Something, White Knight 2. That's its own separate miniseries. That just happens to be a sequel to White Knight. Then Beyond and all that. But Under the Red Hood is different because that's a story in the mainline issue, so I shouldn't have done a review for that. Give me a sec. Okay, sorry about I think I'm done talking about the comic stuff. Yeah, so after the bell went, I went to line up, but the problem is that I didn't see any sixth formers. All I saw were red blazers, so I just waited around, and then eventually I saw the female head of year, so I said, "Where am I going?" And she said, "Just look at the board," because there was a board right next to me, and I didn't know that they had all the things on there because I couldn't see that I couldn't see that there was paper on it. So anyway, and the writing was fucking tiny. So I was supposed to be in room 35 with like 2 other people, so I went back there. One of the guys in Learning Sport was there. He said, "Right, you're sitting in this back seat, but while I'm setting up your computer, I need to go get those 2 other students and an invigilator." So I went back down to where the board is and waited. So they put everyone in the hall, and then eventually got the invigilator and the 2 other students. So as for the exam itself, it was shit. The question was, Lear is entirely responsible for Cordelia's fate. I wrote about 550 words, which is less than 1 page. And the problem with this question, and it's quite similar to a question that we got last year for the Crucible, is that because of how vague, well, like, how do you appropriately fit in, like, the genre and shit like that? So it was basic as fuck. I wrote that, yes, because he exiled her over bullshit, but it could also be argued that that's her fault. It could also be argued that it's her sister's fault, and it could also be argued that it's this other guy's fault. And that was my entire thing. And that's it for this goal video. SWAT, 2003. Universally negative ratings. I watched on Great Movies. Colin Farrell, Samuel L. Jackson, Michelle Rodriguez, Jeremy Renner, LL Cool J. Paige motherfucking Kennedy. Oh, I thought that was fucking Corey Stoll. I thought Corey Stoll and Dominic Lombardozzi were the same person. Whoops. It's Benjamin motherfucking King. Since when was he white? Anyway. Kind of had a feeling that was Octavia Spencer, even though I don't really know Octavia Spencer. Shamar Moore does not appear in it. That's SWAT 2017, which is shit. This one is good. So here's where it gets a little complicated. SWAT started off as a show from 1975. Then they made the film in 2003. Then they made a second film in 2011. Then they made another show in 2017. Now, as far as I know, these are not reboots of each other. These are just basically the same concept. It's about people who work as SWAT officers. I'm going to call this one SWAT 2 in the title, because you're not going to have, you couldn't call SWAT 2017 SWAT 2 because it's a fucking show. It doesn't really work like that. So yeah, SWAT Firefight, aka SWAT 2. Universally, actually mixed ratings. I watched it on Netflix. Robert Patrick. Giancarlo Esposito, who is playing a good guy in this film. It's okay.